I'm Grumpy Librarian, and I explain academic articles so that they actually make sense. Today's article is Critical Information Literacy, Implications for Instructional Practice by James Elborg. Elborg says that the job of college and university librarians is changing dramatically. They're spending less time helping students and faculty at the reference desk and more time teaching students something called information literacy. To deal with these changes, academic librarians need a new understanding of what librarians do. They also need a clearer understanding of what information literacy means. We're not just playing word games here. We can define information literacy in a way that transforms lives. Or we can unintentionally mangle students' minds by forcing them to fit artificial standards. To sort this out, Elborg says we need to go beyond the narrow world of library and information science. We need to talk to critical theorists in the fields of education and literacy. These theorists say we aren't and can't be neutral providers of information. Either we accept the dominant ideology of our society or resist it and provide alternative models. The Brazilian literacy educator Paulo Freire was one of the most important of these theorists. Freire said that capitalist societies are guided by a banking concept of education. Teachers make deposits of knowledge into the heads of students, just like putting money in the bank. Under this model, students learn to be passive consumers of education. They don't learn to actively shape their own lives and societies. But Freire offers an alternative to this grim situation, a model that encourages students to identify serious problems in their world. Students take active control of their own education, learning to ask and answer questions and to change the world around them. Elborg wants to know what Freire's theories mean for the library. He asks, and I quote, "Is the library a passive information bank where students and faculty make knowledge deposits and withdrawals, or is it a place where students actively engage existing knowledge and shape it to their own current and future uses?" Elborg thinks library and information science researchers and literacy educators are reluctant to deal with critical literacy theory. Instead, they prefer to write and act as if their work has no political consequences. These researchers don't study how students find and use information within specific situations and communities. Instead, they try to create abstract scientific studies that reduce information literacy to distinct stages that can and should be accomplished in a specific order. Then, as Elborg says, universal standards and best practices can be defined. One size fits all. Elborg thinks these process models do have some validity. He says they've helped to guide librarians toward a student-centered educational philosophy. But these models give us no way to question their methods or results. We need to move beyond them in order to create a philosophy of educational librarianship that serves all students. Schools are top-down systems. The students who do well in school tend to come from middle-class homes where they are socialized to fit in with this system. The universal models created by the existing research process take the work habits of these middle-class students and set them up as a general pattern for all students to follow. Students from other types of backgrounds who could contribute to their schools and communities are rejected as unprepared or uncooperative when they fail to fit in with the middle class standard. But schools can be part of the problem when, as Elmborg says, they cease to respect students as people capable of making meaning in their own right. Educational theorists such as Mike Rose, Lisa Delpit, and Herbert Cole say that it is immoral to force students into an educational process that erases their individual and cultural identities. But instead of settling for assembly line learning, we can embrace new models that show there are multiple kinds of intelligence and multiple types of literacy. So literacy isn't a rigid, standardized thing. It's the ability to read and produce texts that are appropriate and valuable within your particular community. So a text can be words on paper, according to Elmborg, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a drawing, it could be a song, it could be a dance. The thing is, it has to be produced to speak to a particular community. And the big point here is, you're not literate by yourself. You're literate as part of a community that understands what you're saying. So Elmborg wants to get away from using labels like literate or illiterate to label some people as smart and some people as stupid. He wants to develop a definition of literacy that is pluralistic and non-judgmental. Unfortunately, while there are multiple literacies in every culture, not all literacies are created equal. What he calls school literacies are special. School literacies are special because they set the standard for who is considered educated and who is considered uneducated within a given culture. If you're educated, you have access to lots more social and economic benefits than if you're uneducated. That's why it's important. This brings us to the topic of academic discourse. Academic information literacy is that particular type of school literacy that is required within colleges and universities. Logically enough, it means being able to read, interpret, and produce those types of information that are valued within academia. In order to succeed in college, students have to acquire academic information literacy. They need to learn how to meet the standards of the academy in general, as well as the specific standards of their particular department. This can be difficult or impossible if the standards of the academy contradict the literacies that students already have learned at home and in their communities. It's our friend, the banking concept of education, all over again. And the way that libraries have traditionally structured information have upheld it. Our classification systems have perpetuated the idea of universal knowledge external to the knower. Elmborg has a nice turn of phrase there. He says, seekers of truth can track it down and capture it, either in the confines of the library or in limitless cyberspace. Students do need to learn the structures that librarians have used to organize knowledge, as well as the rules of academic information literacy. But we can also invite them to look at these structures critically. Librarians, other educators, and students can go together on a journey of intellectual questioning and exploration.